So they told you your future. So this could be anyone from like some type of intuitive coach or a psychic or a medium or tarot card reader, astrologer. Someone ended up telling you, or someone that like you just met, and like maybe they don't do this professionally, and so they told you your future, and you don't know, maybe you don't know what to do with that, or it really puzzled you, or you've been waiting for a while that like, okay, well, they told me this was going to happen. So first, just know that or if you're the one who told someone their future, just know that it happened and you're here for a reason. So to realize if that's okay for you to talk about people's future. So the thing, I believe there's like a old quote that says like something about like to know your future is to make one go crazy, something along those lines. And so the problem with telling someone their future is that it can make them, depending on who they are, it could make them really stuck in and hold on to that image in that moment. And so if you believe in like law of attraction or manifestation, so when you're visualizing, you're holding on to that, well, you could be bringing in things that kind of vibrate on those types of frequencies. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing if you're holding on to like the lottery stuff, because maybe the way you're holding on to it, like I need it, like, so it might not be like a higher frequency as it can be, as opposed to like letting go and letting the universe show you something that's like even better for you. And it's like, oh, well, that's better than winning lottery. But sometimes like people need some other things in their life that would actually truly make them happy, and they don't know that. You know, sometimes like we get things in our lives and it's just like, oh, well, I didn't know I'd be fulfilled having this versus that. Or sometimes when something is like taken away from us, even for a little bit, it's like then we realize like that could have brought us joy. And so so it's important to know that like if you are going to these types of like, you know, areas in life where someone else is going to be telling you something intuitively or psychically or looking through things, it's like I've met some amazing people that are like online a lot, like astrologers, psychics, mediums and stuff like amazing. You have to just tell them that you do not want to know your future in any way. But I would also say that you should look into the types of videos that they post and what they talk about, because a lot of them will end up like showing that they might tell people their future and stuff. So before you go and book a session, sometimes it's good to realize like, okay, well, I feel like they would be good for me. And sometimes like when you have a session with someone, the energy that comes through, they might actually end up picking up that like they shouldn't be telling you that type of stuff. But generally I like to go and tell them that, and I usually look at videos to see if they're like that, and even if they are, talk about that here and there in a different way, like as if they do tell someone their future, like as if like a horoscope or astrology stuff that they end up saying like what's gonna happen. But for me I don't jive well with that. So I preface it because I'm like, oh, they're really fantastic, and I feel like that's the type of person I want to talk to. I preface it with like, I don't want to know anything about the future and stuff like that. And so you could ask them to like, oh, well, are there some energies that are going to work in my favor? And like, is there any ways that I could, work on that perhaps, or what should I do with these energies and stuff. So, but like also staying in like the positive. I like to stay in the positive, because sometimes like If they're telling you stuff in the future, well, it could be like the energy that you're in now. And it might, that energy or that moment, like that time in your life, that few days in your life, like it's not something that depicts the energy that you are and who you will be in the future. So it's kind of depicting like a possibility. And like there's so many possibilities, like things are not set in stones, like we do have choices in life. So it's important to also stay in the positive. So I do like to look for people that, like, if they're on the more positive side, if I ever like need to discuss anything. But like, of course, it's always good to check within yourself. So like, if you're constantly going to people externally, like it could be good for some guidance, but there needs to be some interaction from their side or even yours to know that, like, okay, well, how is this getting me to strengthen my own intuition and my own skills? I'm not saying like you have to go do like these courses with them and stuff like that, but like, is there a way for you to like strengthen it within instead of always looking outside of yourself as well for answers? Because the answers, like, I know they always say like the answers are within, but they are. Your intuition is strong. Everyone has in their intuition to guide them, and everyone has some type of psychic ability. And so, and we could use other people in communities as some type of mentorship or guidance as we learn more about ourselves, but not as a crutch. Being mindful of it, like not being as a crutch, I believe is very important. And then making sure like your code of ethics stay in line. So like if you're constantly learning from people that are like, saying like, oh, the future, it's good to know the future and like whatever comes out, but it's like, well, as you increase your frequency and stuff like that, like you want to, like, it's not like, oh, you want to be lying to them and saying a positive future, but like as you increase your frequency and you focus on a lot of good, you end up realizing like you will also attract people that you'll want. Or you could put it out in the universe if you're not attracting that, and say that like, oh, you want people that are like, wanting to have like a better, more positive like future and outcome. And that's the storyline that they would like, and or possibility, but yet still like not telling people their future, because that can make people go mad. It's not like it's a place where like, oh, well, we should tell everyone their future. Well, there's a reason that we don't know our future in that way. But that's why in like manifestation and law of attraction and stuff, it's always also good to like, you could feel the outcome of everything already being taken care of and already done and everything working out, and hold on to that frequency. But imagine like someone's giving you like this energy of like something bad. And this doesn't mean that it's never helped anyone, because sometimes it pushes people in places where it's just like, maybe it might take them through a dark place, or some people it might not, and it just be like, might be a few hours or a moment where they're just like, whoa, I don't want that, I'm going to change my life. But sometimes when people are told of it, it's not backed up with this, with like words of, well, by the way, you could change your future and you don't have to have that outcome or stuff like that. And so that's why it's like, why would we even say that to other people? Like making sure there's ethical ways that we're doing things, because as we like increase our intuition or any type of psychic abilities, there needs to be some code of ethics, because if there aren't any code of ethics, then like, what's the underlying reason of why people are trying to tell people their future? Is it because like deep down they want to show people like, oh, look, I can predict things, I am good enough, or stuff like that? And if you're one of those people, and it doesn't mean that that's the only reason, but look within yourself, like, Why are the reasons that you feel like you need to tell them? Like, even if it comes through to you and you feel like every time you have to, just be mindful that like some people cannot handle it. And it's like, well, unless you're like at a level where you believe that whatever comes through is like needs to come through for that person, then, and it's always help people, but like, are you sure? Like, how certain are you? And like the brain can be like, depending on someone might be okay and be able to handle it, but in a few weeks, maybe they go through something and that thought and that image constantly like, almost plagues them. So I'm not saying like you did anything to them or anything. 'Cause like, sometimes people, come to certain people and get those types of answers because they might need to go through a little bit of darkness, but like trying to make sure that we keep people's energies up and not take them there is really important. And telling, if you like believe in like your guides or angels or whoever that are, or wherever you're channeling this information, to tell you to make sure that like, no harm will come to this person with any of the information, and that you want to take them on like a high frequency of like love and light, because I believe that you can learn through love and light. I don't believe that like you have to go through hardships, but I do believe that hardships that you have gone through are really important, because those hardships have like given you the lessons and tools, and it will still continue to, perhaps, depending on what part of the journey you are with that lesson, it will help you as well. But like, if you know that that's a dark path, it's just like, oh, well, let me go learn some, like, it's like, well, no, you wouldn't do that. You would take this route, and you could learn. That's why we can learn through books. That's why we could learn through stories and experiences and stuff, and why stories are so important and ingrained in us, and why like for centuries people like would tell people like stories and teach people about different life lessons and stuff, and why movies and shows and stuff are so easy to watch sometimes. But so yeah, so be mindful, and just like have compassion for yourself if you've ever done that, and have compassion for yourself if you've ever gone to any of these sessions, because it's like they're not trying to put you in harm either. Maybe they thought they were truly helping you, and maybe it was tied to a bit of like their like part of them that thought, hey, well, like, look, I could show them that like I can tell them their future and I am good enough and stuff like that. Maybe it is tied to that too. But know that that you get to choose your frequency, and just by even knowing it, I believe it could change the outcome. And this is before watching a Marvel movie and hearing Doctor Strange, I believe, say that. But like I've known that for a while too, and so that really confirmed it. I was like, I see, he believes that too. but yeah, just knowing the outcome can change things. And so it doesn't mean like, oh, but I really wanted something good and something, but it's there's too many probabilities, and the way that whatever's meant for you, it will come to you. And just stay in like a frequency of love and light as often and as much as you can. And when you go off track, or when you go into other, it's like, it's okay. Have compassion for yourself, love for yourself, and be proud of yourself that like you were able to realize that, no matter how many days or months or whenever, like you figured out that like, hey, wow, like I wasn't as much in like a higher frequency as I thought. But almost like, to be honest, like a lot of times where it's just like, wow, I really thought I was like at a level that I really wanted to be for a long time. But then it's just like, but we're always growing. So then when you look back, you're always just like, oh, wow. Like now I'm at the frequency. And it's just like, because we're always growing and evolving. So it's not like there's like a goal to be like, oh, I want to reach here, but you want to always be like growing and evolving and wanting to be a more better, loving person than you have been in the past. And yeah, so if you've ever been told your future, or if you've ever told anyone their future, just be mindful of like the ethical codes in that, and decide for yourself if you believe that there should be stronger ethical codes when you are doing that or going to someone, and are you using someone as a crutch or someone using you as a crutch? Because like if I was having like clients come to me for years, and if they're, let's say, sharing like same, like not same problems, but different problems, but they're not using the tools or anything, then I need to put something in place to be able to teach them how to use tools more effectively. Not that I could force them or control them, but if they're constantly coming to me, then it's like, then they're using me as a crutch. So I'm not, it's not like, oh, well, tell them to go away. But it's like, well, how could I make it so they could learn things more effectively, and they could use the tools that I'm giving them to help them? Because it's like, well, of course you want to like get paid sometimes, but sometimes it's like, well, are they going to benefit? Like, is that ethical to be able to like have clients constantly come back, and then over time or over years, you're just like, oh, it's just another client that just, wants to say this, and this, and doesn't want to do any change about it. So it's like, well, be mindful of like those ethics, and if they're going against like some type of values or ethical code, which like they probably are. And so being mindful of that, and trying to always do the right thing, especially when you realize it, you're just like, oh, well, you know what? I think that is happening in my life, and what should I do about it? And so have compassion for yourself to be like, okay, well, now that I know, what am I going to do about it? And so always just have compassion for yourself, because we're always growing and evolving, and we all have our own different blind spots. But yeah. Okay. See you later, guys, and everybody. Bye.